Morning, church. We hope and pray all is well with you. Um, Little Bible history along with how God wants us to live. In Matthew 22:37 through 38, Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment." He actually told us what the best laws were. And in point of fact, he summarized the law. Jesus summarized all of God's law in Matthew chapter 22 in verses 37 through 40. He said this first commandment is the first and greatest. We're to love God with all we are: heart, soul, mind, strength. Loving God is not a feeling. When we truly love God, we will obey His commands and serve Him. We will seek out His will and do it. When we love someone, we want to please them. Our every thought, word, and action should be pleasing God. This first commandment was called the Shema by the Old Testament Jews, how we relate to God. In point of fact, this is in both Testaments. It's mentioned here in Matthew 22, but it's also stated in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 through 9. I'm going to get to the point that not only is this summarized here, but we find these same concepts in the Ten Commandments, because what he's summarizing is what will be, or what is, in the Ten Commandments. Now the second part, because there was a best or first commandment, there was also a second best commandment, Matthew 22:39, and he said this, and the second is like it: love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. From that, we get the golden rule. And in that golden rule, we're told how we're to relate to other people, other men. And again, this is not just a New Testament concept, which a lot of people believe. They think the golden rule only came from Christ. This is a restatement of Leviticus 19:18. Now again, getting back to the structure of the Ten Commandments. In the first four commandments is all about our relationship with God. In Exodus chapter 20, starting with verse 3, you shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them nor serve them, for I am the Lord your God, and am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children of the third and fourth generation to those who hate me, but showing steadfast love to thousands of those who love me and keep my commands. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shall you labor and do all your work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God, and on it you shall not do any work, you or your son or your daughter, your male servant, your female servant, or your livestock, or the sojourner who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth and sea and all that's in them, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Again, these four commandments from Exodus, from the Ten Commandments, are restated in the Shema. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. The first and greatest commandment. And again, that's a summary of those first four commandments. The second commandment, what he called the second greatest commandment, love your neighbor as yourself, the golden rule. That is a summary of the next six. And the next six goes like this, starting in Exodus 20:12. Honor your father and mother, that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God has given you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male servant, or his female servant, or his ox, or his donkey, or anything that is your neighbor's. Again, that second commandment from Matthew capsules what are described in the second part of the Ten Commandments, how we're to live with others. Folks, it's rather simple instructions for life. And this was the instructions for the Jewish community in the Old Testament times, and it was the instructions for us in Western civilization for the last 2,000 years. But in our society today, we have totally lost our minds. We can get our minds back. We can get our society back. We can get order back. We can get communion with God back if we will simply follow these simple directions as so well summarized by Christ himself. And we hope you have a good day.